Jennifer and her mom are settled in her mom's bed. Elaine had work the next day. And then boom, Elaine jerks awake. And another boom. So she gently wakes up Jennifer. Sweetie, I'm so sorry, but you're kicking me in your sleep and I've got work in the morning. Would you mind going to your own room tonight? But when Jennifer opens the door to her room, it's so dark. Her light is on and her window is open a crack to let in that nice summer Texas breeze. Jennifer had a nightmare. And she opened her eyes expecting to be in bed still, but she looked up to see her body being moved by a man that she did not recognize. Jennifer was very, very sharp. Even while she was being smothered by this giant hand, she wanted to stay alert. So she's looking around and she thinks to herself, 2 doors, blue yucky paint.
Wow.
That was the car that this man threw her into. He gets in, locks the car doors, and within seconds they were already on the road. He forces Jennifer to sit on his lap, and he had one hand on the wheel and another hand on her head to yank her head down anytime another car passed them. Jennifer was so terrified. She's just analyzing the situation, trying to find a way out, when finally the man speaks. It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. I'm an undercover police officer. So Jennifer's confused. I mean, what is going on? I'm supposed to trust this guy. I want to believe him, but there is just something so off about him. He doesn't feel like a police officer. He didn't stop driving. And Jennifer realized if he was a police officer, surely he would have taken her to a trusted family member's house, right? This is the moment that Jennifer started to believe that she was being kidnapped. But she didn't just panic. She was quick on her feet. She remembered looking at him and repeating in her head, glasses, mustache, yucky hair, scar on face. She tries not to panic, and she makes it her mission to just remember everything. She remembers seeing cigarettes, the red and gold ones, empty beer cans, bottles. She remembers all of this. And then finally, the car turns off and the man pulls her out into this overgrown field with tall grass. He lunges for her throat and holds a knife up to it. Am I scaring you, little girl? Am I scaring you? She said he dropped the knife and started over and over and over again. This kept happening all day long. So that's what she was doing all night long, into the morning, then all day long, until early evening rolls around. And this time, she could hear passing cars on the road. She tried to turn her head to see if she could make out these cars, but all she saw was them driving past in the distance. She can't move, she can't scream. And at this point, she said she just felt exhausted. Jennifer remembers the girl's little voice turning into multiple voices that become louder and louder, and it felt like there was a whole commotion over her. She tried to wake up, and all she could see was a police officer, which was probably traumatizing. But this one was in uniform, and they told her, you've been found. You're going to be okay. Stay with us. Just please stay with us. Sharon McBride is a pediatric ICU nurse. Sharon asks around and she gets filled in on what happened and decides it is her mission for however long it takes to make sure that Jennifer heals and gets out of this hospital stronger than before. The doctors and nurses informed Sharon that Jennifer was airlifted to the hospital via a helicopter, and everyone thought that she was going to die. Her chance of survival was slim to none, practically non-existent. She has these piercing blue eyes that are beautiful, and she's staring at the doctors. She's so scared. But the doctors noticed that anytime a male doctor or a male nurse or any male staffer would come anywhere near, her eyes would widen and panic. Her mom wasn't allowed in the room because they're performing life-saving treatments and they can't risk a parent intervening. So they need to focus all their attention on saving Jennifer. The hospital decides female doctors and nurses would be taking the lead when Jennifer is conscious, and they would be reassuring her that she was safe and nobody was going to hurt her. Sharon was a seasoned nurse, though. Whenever she was scared or emotional, she never let it show. She said standing there looking at Jennifer, the fact that this little 8-year-old girl had suffered something like this, horrendous trauma, my heart aches for her. What on earth was her life going to be like now? How was this going to affect the rest of her life? So no matter what Jennifer was doing, Sharon was always in her room. Even if she was sleeping, even if she was eating, Sharon literally never left her side. Jennifer's mom was also allowed to be there now, and she was beside herself with grief and anger. She had woken up the next morning to get ready for work. She slowly opened Jennifer's door, expecting her to still be fast asleep. But instead, her bed was empty, Jennifer was nowhere to be seen, and the window was wide open. She called 911 and she had not stopped searching for Jennifer until she got the call that she was in the hospital. Jennifer's mom and nurse Sharon, they would be pivotal in catching whoever did this to Jennifer. This is in Dickinson, Texas. Like I said, very, very small community. The police are like, we need to catch who did this to Jennifer before everybody starts freaking the fork out. And we don't have much to go off of. So right now, we've got Jennifer's pajamas that were found in the field. We've got a blue men's t-shirt and a pair of men's underwear that was also discarded nearby in the field where Jennifer was found. But at this point in time, I know you're like looking at me like, that's amazing. That's all you need. In this point in time, DNA evidence was not specific enough to ID a suspect with such a small sample. So they come up with this system where the police would ask Jennifer's mom and nurse Sharon all these questions that they want Jennifer to answer. They would go in with a sketch pad and Jennifer would write down her answers. I mean, these would all lead to be key circumstantial evidence later that would help with the arrest. After Jennifer's notes were completed, the authorities even brought in a female forensic artist. So she's like a composite sketch artist who's going to talk to Jennifer and start drawing the attacker. This was Jennifer's 4th day at the hospital. She's heavily medicated in excruciating, reliving her trauma, but nevertheless, within an hour, they have their composite sketch of the suspect. It showed a man with dark hair, dark eyes, dark eyebrows, and a mustache and stubble all over his chin. He also had a scar on his face. They turn it into the police, and I think this is when Jennifer focuses all of her energy on just recovery now. Now, remember how the first responders said that there's no way she's going to survive? Well, she did. And remember how they said that she would never talk again? Mm-hmm. Well, she did.
What?
In the hospital, it all started with this tiny little noise, like a soft noise. And everyone just went quiet. Because they're like, is that coming from Jennifer? Slowly but surely, she started to talk. Jennifer's an adult. She's no longer that 8-year-old girl. Which, side note, I know I'm making it out to be like, oh, Jennifer is so strong, which she is. Oh my gosh, she's so strong. But she also went through a lot. Like, this was not an easy road where she's like, okay, guys, I'm just going to go back to school now and be fine. She remembers being a child. She would lock herself into the bathroom for hours and just stare at the, quote, ugly long red scar on her neck. The only news that she would hear periodically was that her case was being reassigned to a different officer. This is very bureaucratic. It's like a new officer comes in and they're like, oh, well, you get this case, and nothing really happens. And it's a pretty scary feeling knowing that the person who did this is still out there. But Jennifer, she's trying to move on, and she just wanted to have kids one day. That was her dream, to be a mom. So she falls in love with this man, Jonathan Martinez. The two of them get married, and Jonathan was like the man of her dreams, the one that she wanted to have children with and start a family with. He was like the biggest cheerleader. He knew everything that she went through to be who she is now. She had to learn to be less afraid of the dark, to sleep alone again. This is what she would have to go through every day for the rest of her life. But Jonathan was helping her through it. Even when she was diagnosed with, hydrosalpinx, I think. At just 25 years old, he was right there with her. So if you're wondering what that is, it's a condition where your fallopian tubes are blocked and they're filled with fluid. She was told by her doctors that it was due to complications as a result of the SA when she was 8. And because they're blocked and filled with fluid, she may never be able to conceive any children. The doctors told her, even with corrective surgery, your chances of becoming a mother naturally are slim to none. 18 years. I mean, she's all grown up now, and here was another officer taking a look at her case. There had been so many before him that took a look at her case, and what? Nothing happened. I mean, it was more to even convince herself that this one's going to be different. But there was something about Detective Cromie. He called Jennifer personally to let her know that he was taking over and he wanted to meet with her in person. It was the first time she was requested to talk to a police officer about her case. They met for the first time at the police station, and honestly, Jennifer was frustrated, she was upset, and she let it out. She thought to herself, here we are 18 years later. Like, what is this guy going to do? She told Detective Cromie, I want a trial. I want to help and I want a trial. I want to face this guy in court. She said, I want to be able to face the person that wanted to silence me and show them that I came out victorious. So she puts her trust in Detective Cromie, and he did not take that lightly, okay? He felt like he owed her answers. So the police sent the clothes off to Quantico for them to be tested for any sort of DNA that they could find. Now, side note, the police knew that there would be a long line for DNA testing done at Quantico. It took a year. It took a year for them to get it back. Detective Cromie got a call at 2:30 in the morning. They had a match. A man named Dennis, remember that name?
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Dennis Earl Bradford. But they noted that this happened in Arkansas. So as far as the police could track, Dennis had been living in Arkansas since at least 1991. And when Dennis was in Texas, his residential address was in Dickinson around the time of the crime. Dickinson. In fact, from Jennifer's apartment window, you could probably see his residence. He only lived a few blocks away. So let's get this Dennis guy, okay? Who even is he? Let's backtrack a little and dig into who this guy is. And there's not much on his childhood out there, but he would have been 20 when he attacked Jennifer. Soon after, he moved from Texas to Arkansas, and we know that he got married at 21 years old to an 18-year-old Lisa, and they had 2 kids together, but the marriage would disintegrate. He was a bit of a binge drinker. He was arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder. Now, for some strange reason, the charges were later reduced to kidnapping and rape. Now, side note, this is infuriating, but the jury, they were deadlocked on the sexual assault charge. How do you get deadlocked on that? How are you deadlocked when this man put his knife to her throat and then assaulted her? He was sentenced to 12 years and ordered to provide a DNA sample for the database. Arkansas correction records showed that he served less than 3 years in prison before he was released. He was paroled February of 2000. He was arrested the next year for drinking and driving. And in 2004, Dennis remarried a woman named Elizabeth. She had 3 children before marrying Dennis, and he legally adopted them, legally becoming their stepfather. So after Dennis was booked, he was interviewed about Jennifer's case from 19 years ago. Now, side note, because Jennifer was a minor when this happened and it was an ongoing investigation, the information in case files were not publicized. Okay. So that means the last time Dennis saw Jennifer was when he dumped her body in the field 19 years ago. He believed wholeheartedly that she was dead because that was his intention. He left her for dead on top of an ant pile. He firmly believed he killed that 8-year-old little girl. He had no reason to believe otherwise. The detectives start by asking him if he had ever heard of Jennifer Schuett. Yes, he stated that he remembered hearing in the community talking about, a girl that was left in the field, and he prayed for her. Did you ever have occasion to come in contact with her? Yes. Tell me about it. No. You don't want to talk about it? No. Is there a reason why? You did your homework. You're right, Dennis. We did do our homework. And if you're remorseful about this, people need to hear that. There's 2 sides to every story. Dennis starts to tear up before saying, not a single day goes by where I don't see that baby. There is no other side to the story. She was innocent, and I was a sick, deranged, beat-up little punk. She wasn't anybody I met. I don't remember why I pulled up to those apartments. Huh. Well, I think if you were to see her, I think you would be extremely proud. I really do. Dennis breaks down sobbing and says, she's alive? She's alive? Yes, she's alive. And let me tell you something right now. She's with us.
Well, you have no idea how hard I have prayed for that.
I took that little girl out there and I raped her and I cut her and I don't know why and I've never known why. Dennis had hanged himself in his jail cell after confessing. He made a noose from his bedding and there was no signs of foul play. It was definitely suicide. So he died 40 years old, May 10th, 2010. It's believed that Dennis was a serial predator to children and adults. He knew that his life was over the minute he was caught. More of his crimes would likely surface. He knew the things that other inmates would do to him if he spent the rest of his life in prison. So instead of taking these consequences, facing the consequences, he took the, quote, easy way out. Jennifer said, the only thing I can describe is devastation. I felt like everything I had worked so hard for was just ripped away from me in an instant. And now that Dennis was deceased, his case was immediately dropped, and Jennifer felt like she could go to his grave. She had to. Exactly 20 years later, instead of going to court, Jennifer and her husband went to Dennis's grave, August 10th of 2010, and she read her impact statement that she had prepared for court, and she read it directly to Dennis while standing over his dead body. She read, Dennis Bradford, I waited 19 years, 2 months, and 3 days to find out your last name, and for you to be caught. You chose the wrong little 45-pound 8-year-old girl to try and murder because for 19 years, I've thought about you every single day. And I've helped searching for you. I didn't know who you were or where you were, but in my head, I knew you were out there alive, either in prison or living a lie. And now I know, listening to my heart all these years and never giving up on finding you, I was right. All this time, you've been living a lie. You thought you killed me. You thought you won that sick little game that you had started. But again, you were wrong. You left me there in a fire ant pile like I was nothing, like I was an old rag doll that you discarded in a field as trash after having your fun torturing her. Over 14 hours, I laid there in that field bleeding to death, knowing that one day I'd face you. And to know that you'd never hurt another person, that is what has kept me going. And today I sit in front of you as a 28-year-old woman, and I would like you to know that I'm not a victim because of what happened 20 years ago. I've waited for this day for 20 years of my life, and I hope you now feel as weak as you made me feel all those years ago as a child. Dennis Bradford, I'm not your victim. I'm victorious. But the story doesn't even end there. Remember how Jennifer was diagnosed with a condition that made it nearly impossible for her to have her own children. A doctor heard about her story and heard of her diagnosis, offered Jennifer and Jonathan free IVF. IVF is not guaranteed to work, side note, but just to try, right? The couple have since then welcomed 2 beautiful children into their family, a daughter and a son, which is remarkable because medical professionals doubted that she would survive. It would take a miracle, they said. Medical professionals doubted that she would ever talk again. It would take a miracle, they said. Medical professionals doubted that she could ever conceive her own children. It would take a miracle, they said. And she did it all. And I'm gonna cry.